In this video, we are going to add some holes to the side rail, something we haven't done yet. It's a pretty easy process, very similar to everything we've been doing so far. So what I want to do first is, under the Scenes menu, I'm going to go to the top view of my side rail, zoom in a little bit, and then I got to create two guidelines. So using the tape measure tool, I'm going to pull in this case you can go in from either side, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to come in 3/8 of an inch, because that is exactly half of 3/4 is 3/8. So I'm going to come in 3/8 of an inch, and then from either the top or the bottom, it really doesn't matter, you're going to come down, you're going to move your midpoint, or you're going to move your cursor along the edge until you hit the midpoint, which is what that blue dot is. That blue dot indicates that you are at the midpoint of that line, which of course would be 1 inch. Now we're going to get our circle tool over on the left side of the screen. Under rectangle, click on the rectangle, but then select the circle. Couple important things to understand about making circles in SketchUp. Number one, the program uses radius, not diameter. So when you are drawing a circle, if you look down in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, it says radius. And right now that's 3/16, which would actually make a hole with a diameter of 3/8. Well, we want a hole that has a diameter of 1/4 inch, because usually when we're talking about holes, we speak in terms of diameters, how big the hole is. And generally, we're talking from one side of the hole to the other. But the program uses radius, so it's always half of that. So half of 1/4 is 1/8. So I click in the middle, and I come out 1/8 of an inch, and I click, and there is a 1/4 inch hole. You can see that if I measure now from one side to the other, you can see that it's a 1/4 inch diameter. Okay. So that's number one, is that the program uses radius. The next very important thing, and it is something that will not affect you right away, but later in this process, or when you start making more complex drawings, if you don't follow this rule about making circles, it will make your life far more difficult than it needs to be. And here's what that thing is. So I click to start the circle, and I move my mouse. Now what's important is that you move directly sideways or directly up and down. Do not go at some random angle out in here like this. Okay? You need to go straight up or straight over. And I call this on axis. When you're making circles, you have to stay on axis. Either, in this case, actually is the z-axis, and this way just so happens to be the x-axis. But SketchUp really doesn't care about x, y, and z. They use colors. If you pull this out, you can see that the line that's being created from the center out is red. If I go straight up and down, the line that is being created there is green. So that's green axis and red axis. And then the up and down axis, that one is blue. So it uses colors for their axes. That way it doesn't, X, Y, Z really doesn't come into account. It's just red axis, green axis, or blue axis. So I have clicked to start my circle. Again, that same 4-step process. You click to start an object, move your mouse the direction you want to go, type in the distance that you want to go. So in our case, it's 1/8, and then press return, and there's the circle. To make the circle a hole, I'm simply going to roll this up a little bit, get my push-pull tool, select the surface, move the direction you want to go, which in this case is down, and we want to go down 1/2 of an inch. So you can either type 0.5 or you can type 1/2. whichever you prefer. So I'm going to type 0.5 and press return. And now when I orbit that, it's a hole whose bottom is located a ½ inch from the top edge. So now I've created a hole that has a 1/4 inch diameter. It's a ½ inch deep. Okay. Next, I'm going to orbit to where I'm seeing the front of this object. Okay. I believe that that is over here. It's actually the right side view of the object that we're drawing. Okay, so if you, instead of doing top view, you can do right side view, and you should see this. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and delete my guides so that they don't get confused with the new guides. And I'm going to create 3 new guides. These guides, I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to pull down. Notice how right there the guideline is kind of disappeared. If I move my mouse just a little bit, it'll come back. And there's the blue axis that I was talking about before. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we are going to come down 4 inches and press return. And then from that mark, I'm going to come down an additional 2 inches and press return. And from the left edge, I'm going to pull over 1 inch so that we're in the center again. So it was 4 inches from the top, an additional 2 inches, and then over 1 inch. I'm going to create 2 circles. The first one at the bottom has a radius of 1/8. And again, stay on axis. Don't come out here like this. Either straight up or straight over. I'm going to type in 1/8. I'm going to press return. Up here, this hole is ultimately going to be 5/16 of an inch. It's a little bit bigger. So therefore, the radius is 5/32. So I'm going to move over and I type 5/32 for 5/32. Press return. And now that circle is slightly larger than that circle. I'm going to go ahead and delete my guides. I'm going to orbit the piece a little bit sideways. Zoom in a bit. Take this circle, push it in 0.5. Come up to this circle, push it in 0.5, press return. And now we have 2 ½ inch deep holes. And on the top, we have a 1/3 ½ inch deep hole. So at this point, your side rail should have 2 holes on the face and 1 hole in the top. Have these grooves and have these angles down the back side. Excuse me. Make sure I save the project. And that is it for the side rail.